This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. An express train service from Talaimannar to Colombo Fort will commence on the 15th of September. The next cabinet meetings will discuss about the compensation to the farmers affected by the prevailing dry weather conditions. The President makes recommendation for new Welfare Benefits Board Chairman. Minister Bandula Gunawardena categorically rejects claims that iChannel of Rupavahini Corporation is given to a private company. IMF staff to visit Sri Lanka in September for the first program review. China's Sinopec to start operations in Sri Lanka in September. CAA raids shops not displaying prices. News overseas, Travis King, North Korea says U.S. soldier blamed discrimination. In sports, Hasaranga retires from Test cricket to make room for more franchise cricket. We move on to local news in detail now. An International Monetary Fund staff team will visit Colombo in a month's time for the first review on Sri Lanka's loan program, a spokesperson said on Tuesday. The Washington-based lender approved a nearly $3 billion bailout for crisis-hit Sri Lanka in March. The Asian island is struggling with its worst financial crisis in over 7 decades, triggered by a severe shortage of foreign exchange. The first review will take place from September 14th through the 27th and considers the program's performance until end June, and if approved by both the staff and the executive board, would allow a disbursement of around $338 million. The previous IMF staff mission to the country was in May, when the fund's authorities said that the overall macroeconomic and policy environment remains challenging. Chinese oil major Sinopec expects to start operations in Sri Lanka on September 20th and will be allowed to sell fuel for less than maximum retail price by the government, Sri Lanka's Power Ministry said yesterday. Sinopec's entry into Sri Lanka will help reduce pressure on Sri Lanka's foreign exchange reserves, and the island nation expects 2 other international fuel operators to start operations by October and November, Kanchana Wijesekara said. Reducing pressure on our foreign exchange with Sinopec's entry will also help us increase fuel imports and strengthen the economy, Mr. Wijesekara told reporters. Australia's United Petroleum and US firm RM Parks, in collaboration with Shell, are the other 2 companies that have received approval. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said an express train service from Talaimannar to Colombo Fort will commence on the 15th of September for the benefit of the devotees travelling to Mannar. The President made these remarks while addressing a function in Mannar Mother Shrine. In the meantime, Minister of Transport, Highways and Mass Media Dr. Bandula Gunawardena categorically rejects claims that iChannel of Rupavahini Corporation is given to a private company. Some media reports have misguided the public with wrong information, the minister added. The minister further said that the matter regarding iChannel is something to do with lease, and it is an internal matter decided by the Rupavahini board. The Rupavahini board will call for bids for lease locally to find out a best institution to promote sports and entertainment. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
Continuing with more stories here at home, retired Sri Lanka Administrative Service Special Grade Officer Jayantha Vijayaratne's name has been recommended for the position of the chairman of the Welfare Benefits Board. Accordingly, President Ranil Wickremesinghe recommended to the Constitutional Council that Vijayaratne be appointed as the new WBB chairman. Earlier, Mr. B. Vijayaratne resigned from his post as the chairman of the Welfare Benefits Board. Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister said the next cabinet meeting will discuss about the compensation to the farmers affected by the prevailing dry weather conditions. A group of 54 Sri Lankan migrant workers who were stranded in Kuwait will be repatriated, and the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau says these SLBC registered individuals overstaying their visas and fleeing their initial workplaces had been stuck in Kuwait without any means to return to the island. The chairperson of the Bureau, AAM Hilmi, has instructed the respective Sri Lankan emissaries to facilitate the expeditious return of the SLBC registered migrant workers stranded and accommodated at safe houses in foreign countries. The safe return of the 53 Sri Lankans stranded in Kuwait was facilitated after registering them with the Sri Lankan Embassy in Kuwait and subsequently informing the Immigration and Emigration Department and the Criminal Investigation Department. That's local news for the moment.
Listen, no fake news, false flags, it is the real thing. Breaking records, making history, you know we got the big bling. 10 billion bonus all across the island. Ka-ching! Not millions, talking billions, yeah, it is the big win.
History's highest ever sure bonus declaration for SLIC life policyholders in 2022 exceeds 10 billion rupees.
10 billion bonus gonna make your dreams come true. 10 billion bonus for you.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The officers of the Consumer Affairs Authority have inspected a number of shops including textile traders in Colombo Fort yesterday. Following the inspections, the officers have also taken steps to initiate legal action against 3 shops in which the prices of the goods being sold were not displayed. The officers who carried out the relevant raid stated that the purpose of relevant inspections is to emphasize the fact that the goods should be given for free if the prices are not displayed. According to the Consumer Affairs Authority Act, the price of every product for sale must be displayed. Nevertheless, many vendors do not comply with this, the CAA officials alleged. That's on the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
The health officials warn that several diseases are rapidly spreading among children with the prevailing dry weather conditions in the island. Dr. Deepal Pereira, specialist doctor at the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Colombo, states that conditions such as dehydration are common within children these days. Therefore, Dr. Pereira also recommended that children should be provided with more liquids during these days. Furthermore, the specialist doctor claimed that the diseases like diarrhea can also spread widely among children with the prevailing dry weather.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
And on world news headlines, Nawaz Singh elections in February, Rana Sanaullah says. Travis King, North Korea says US soldier blamed discrimination. In Jakarta, living with asthma in the world's most polluted city. Moving on to world news in detail. PMLN leader Rana Sanaullah said on Tuesday his party's Supremo Nawaz Sharif was confident that general elections would be held in the country in February next year. He is sure that elections will take place in February. Delimitation of constituencies has to be completed before then, and it will be completed by December, Sanaullah said, while responding to a question about Nawaz's expected return to Pakistan during an appearance on Geo News show Aaj Shazeb Kanzada Ke Saath. The former Interior Minister added that since elections would be held in February, it was appropriate for Nawaz to return to the country in September or October. North Korea has said U.S. soldier Travis King crossed into its territory last month because of inhuman maltreatment and racial discrimination in the army. The 23-year-old private dashed across the border from South Korea on the 18th of July while on a guided tour. Private King expressed his willingness to seek refuge in the North, the country's state media said. The claims, which are the North's first public comments on the case, could not be verified independently. Finally, on world news, multiple doctors have advised Farah Nur Firman to leave her hometown Jakarta for her health's sake. The 22-year-old asthmatic often wears a mask and carries an inhaler, but the air quality in the city is not helping. The Indonesian capital, which has long wrestled with air pollution, was ranked the most polluted city on global charts nearly every day last week. President Joko Widodo on Monday even mandated that all civil servants work from home amid worsening air quality. That's on World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities from Deshak Sri Lanka in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, including company housemaid, salary 156,000 rupees, 23 to 57 years. Contact 037 7500 500.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced plans to transform Mannar into an energy hub during his presence at the annual festival of the National Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu in Mannar. He also revealed that an intercity express train service between Talaimannar and Colombo will commence on the 15th of September, aiming at enhancing connectivity and facilitating smoother travel between the two cities. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also participated in the morning service of the feast this year. Subsequent to the main ceremony, the statue of Lady Madhu was carried in procession throughout the church grounds to pay homage to the devoted attendees.
Job opportunities for women from Deshak Sri Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Company housemaids, caretakers and home cooks in Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can now travel overseas free of charge. Branches: Colombo, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500. Deshak Sri Lanka Foreign Development Agency.
And in sports cricket, Sri Lanka all-rounder Wanindu Hasaranga has retired from Test cricket at age 26. He's understood to have made this decision in order to be more available for franchise cricket tournaments. Hasaranga has not been a regular member of Sri Lanka's Test squad over the last 2 years, but has played 4 Tests. He had loudly failed to impress with the ball in those matches, taking 4 wickets at an average of 100.75, though he did hit a half-century in South Africa. In the meantime, in soccer, Rangers squeezed through to a Champions League playoff against PSV Eindhoven after surviving a fraught night against Servette in sweltering Geneva. A header from captain James Tavernier, so often Rangers' European talismans, salvaged a second leg draw and slender aggregate win. Rangers' 2-1 lead from Ibrox had been nullified as Derek Kutesa whipped a wonderful finish with a top corner in a torrid first half for the visitors. That's on Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Bank of Ceylon has reported 10.5 billion rupees of profit before tax for the 6-month period ended 30th June 2023 amidst the unprecedented challenges continue to prevail from previous year. The interest income of the bank grew by 32% to 259.7 billion rupees primarily due to the increase in AWPLR compared to the corresponding period of the previous year. However, interest expenses grew by 98% as the deposit mix has been repriced at higher rates, resulting in high cost of funding and led to 65% decline in net interest income compared to H1 2022.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And on economic news, the Invest Sri Lanka Investor Forum, which was organized by the Colombo Stock Exchange in association with the Confederation of the Indian Industry, concluded on 11th August, Mumbai, at the Taj Lands End Hotel. The forum made a strong case for investment flows into Sri Lanka and witnessed a strong turnout of over 120 prospective investors from Mumbai. Shehan Semasinghe, State Minister of Finance, was the keynote speaker at the forum. That's on economic news.
Weather report.
Moving on to the weather update, the Met Department says except for a few showers in Western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Galle and Matara districts, mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee, Hambantota and Monaragala districts. This weather report was published this morning at 4:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. That's the weather update, and before we wind up this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. An express train service from Thalaimannar to Colombo Fort will commence on the 15th of September. The next cabinet meeting will discuss about the compensation to the farmers affected by the prevailing dry weather conditions. The President makes recommendations for new Welfare Benefits Board Chairman. Minister Madhura Gurubardhana categorically rejects claims that iChannel of Rupavahini Corporation is given to private company. IMF staff to visit Sri Lanka in September for first program review. China's Sinopec to start operations in Sri Lanka in September. CAA raids shops not displaying prices. Travis King, North Korea says U.S. soldier blamed discrimination. In sports, Hasaranga retires from Test cricket to make room for more franchise cricket. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news.